Hello, friends. I want to welcome you to a first of what I hope will be many conversations between me, Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach, and my dear friend across the pond, Nadine Searle, whose work is about your calmer self. Hello, Nadine.
Hello, Susan. I am so pleased to be here with you. Really exciting, isn't it? We love chatting, don't we? So
We love
brilliant.
chatting and we have something to share. So
We
before we
do.
start, I want to let our viewers know that Nadine and I met through the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group. We are both listed among the leading practitioners in the KS Media Group app. So we want you to take out your phone now, go to the Play Store, download the KS Media Group app, and put in your email so you can really join us fully, receive a free download book on your self-care, and then have fun working your way through the leading practitioners and the interactive engagement that you will find in the app. I'm delighted to be in the group because of meeting people like Nadine Searle. I have my own story about not having a calmer self. When I was in my late 30s, I did have an emotional breakdown. I was at home in bed for 10 days. I lost my peripheral vision, and it was really due to anxiety that stemmed from, I guess I might say, being a type A personality. That's the short version of the story. From that time till 6, I'm no longer in my 30s, I have been on a journey to enlightenment, which has included my own self-love breakthrough and my self-care. Today, Nadine and I want to speak together and with you about the idea of investing in education for your personal development, your self-growth, your self-love, and your self-care. So Nadine, get us started on this topic.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same as you, Susan. I come from a place of not knowing how to look after myself. That's why I actually developed the Calmer Self method, because I needed it all for myself. Again, decades ago. It was a long
Yeah.
time ago. I didn't know how to look after myself. I didn't know what self-care meant. I didn't have a clue, really. And I was one of those people. I was the eternal people pleaser, doing everything, thinking I was the only person who could do everything, which I think is quite common with a lot of people, isn't it? And just continually burning out, definitely not looking after myself. And I always say I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. It's quite a cliche, but
Mm.
it's true. I was very resistant to start asking for help. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't want to ask for help. I saw it as a bit of a weakness. So I was resistant to that. And also, I didn't know where to go to for help. So once I started to actually realize that my body and my sanity was telling me repeatedly I needed to do something, my lifestyle
Mm.
was not sustainable. So once I did actually listen to that and learn to, I think, be brave actually, to actually step into asking for help and going, I just can't do this on my own. Then I started to get that wonderful response, because once we do open to it, and I'm sure you know what this is like, then it comes to us, doesn't it? Which is wonderful. And I did really spend a lot of time and a lot of money in investing in myself. And where we
Mm.
say it's an education, I learnt so much. I really feel that it's of such value, because I started to learn how to look after me. And that has
Mm.
stayed with me, like I say, decades on, and it's carrying me through now, and we keep going. And now I can return that favour, if you like, and I help others the way that I was helped. So
Yeah.
that's my story in a nutshell too.
Yeah. How much do I love? I went through it so you don't have to. That's so great. So a lot coming up for me. I wanna I wanna say out loud, we want to get to what the education was that you invested in for yourself and mine. But before we do, I want to go right leapfrog ahead to ask you, how does it feel now, decades later, as we say, to have this good, calmer self practice? How does it feel for you now that you spent this time investing in your education and in your personal well-being?
Yeah. It's a really good question because it is all about how we feel, isn't it? But I've got to say, I'm still doing it. I still am investing time and money, and I'm still learning. So it's ongoing, and that is great. I will continue to
Mm,
grow and learn and educate and invest in myself. But how it feels is lighter. That doesn't explain a lot, but it does feel lighter. It's a relief. Without a
mm,
doubt, it's a relief. And it just feels empowering. I say just,
mm.
it's not just, is it? It is empowering.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
to actually, when I first started, I mean, when I first started to open up, it was painful, it was hard, I was scared. That is the honest truth. But actually now I feel, even when I have my moments when I wobble a bit, I call it a wobble because we still have those moments, don't we?
Of
I go,
course.
that's good. That because I know there's some education to come, there's some learning to come. When I have my moments, I used to suffer with massive bouts of depression, and every now and again that can still hit. Yeah, I think it does forever, doesn't it? I've accepted that now, and that's okay. But when that comes, there's a little bit of me that goes, oh good, because I know that we've got those ups and downs. It's quite natural, isn't it? So it's just feeling that the fear has gone, the the worry has gone. As I say, I
Mm.
feel lighter, I feel brighter. And as I say, it has developed as well into something that I just naturally want to share with everybody. And I'm sure you're the same. Everything we learn, we want to share, don't we? So just feeling that wonderful, this is good, whatever it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And this is so important because, friends, Nadine and I are just having a conversation because we are have such deep conviction and passion to share what we've learned so that you do not have to say for decades I was that way,
Yeah.
so that you can get to this place more quickly. Nadine, you said the word lighter, and I do exactly feel that. I call it, there is a lightness of being. There's a lightness of being that feels like this, right?
Mm, mm,
This is confidence, right? That where you're open and your shoulders are square. There's a
yeah.
lightness of being instead of that heaviness of depression,
Mm,
which I also was
mm,
diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I was on medication for 7 years. I've been
wow.
off for many, many years now.
Good.
And when depression visits, or grief also visits,
Yeah. Yeah.
we now, from that better feeling place that we've gotten to from this education, from the investment that we make in ourselves, we've gotten to a place to have tools to use to feel this sort of courageous, more self-empowered place that Nadine is talking about. And
Mm,
I too am in this. And of course, Nadine, I am the confidence coach. But as I say
yes.
in my
Yes.
daily live at 5, step into the confidence zone, that doesn't mean I'm always supremely confident, right? Why? Because we're human. You're the calmer
Yes.
self coach, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean that you're always supremely calm. Why?
No. No.
Because you're human, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've got to be honest with you, Susan, I don't want to be calm all the time. As I said earlier, I like that difference. It's really nice. I don't want to be any emotion all the time. I love that change. And it's that kind of, like you said, the confidence and stepping into that. It is just so wonderful to be able to feel it, but feel every emotion. And again, to not be scared of feeling that, I think is again a feeling that we can step into, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're saying that you don't want to be calm all the time, even coming from the calmer self
From
coach.
me, yeah.
Right, because that would mean that you're not in your place of humanity,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah.
you're in this kind of, sometimes we aspire to neutrality, but that's only to
Mm,
get out of the bad feeling. We don't want to be in neutrality, all the time, because then you don't have the good feeling either. But for you, I love that you're sharing that. Let's get into this conversation about investing in our education.
yeah, yeah.
I want to say, I'll start, if I may,
Yes, of
and
course.
say that some many years ago, 20 years ago, I had a job, a big job that required a commute. I was happy if I was only commuting 50, that's 50 minutes. And more likely, a few days a week, I had to go to the faraway location, which was an hour and a half each way. And sometimes, even in the shorter commute, I had traffic. So I was always in my car about an hour each way. At that time, one year, I can't really remember which year it was. I can't really remember, maybe 2011, I'm not sure. I made an investment in the Hay House Summit. They had a big, huge summit, and they sold the CDs from, remember CDs?
CDs.
They
Yes, love it,
sold
love it.
CDs from that summit. And even though at that time it was like $300 or $400, it was a lot of money for me to invest in that purpose, right? Which wasn't for the children, and it wasn't, for my health, and,
for
this and that. Right,
yeah.
exactly. It was just for me. I had to break through myself to really spend that money. What happened as a result of that investment at that time was my car turned into my personal development, self-help university. That's what I call it.
Brilliant.
And I spent a year and a half commuting, listening to these CDs by other leading practitioners who inspire through sharing seminal messaging. And it changed my world. It changed my view. It changed my outlook. It really, truly changed my life. I did other things as well in that time, including therapy and other personal work, journaling and whatnot. But that at that time, it wasn't a small investment for me then. We were paying for a private school. We were saving for college. We had already been paying for daycare. My husband had gotten a PhD, so he wasn't making that much in the beginning. And we were regular middle class people, not very wealthy people who can drop $400 on the spot. And so that really, truly was an investment in my education. Nadine, I still have that same CD set in the back of my car.
Yes.
No lie. I don't listen to them really anymore, but I do have it sitting in my trunk. So that was one way that I invested in myself and my education, from which I grew exponentially. What's an example of how you invested in your education?
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And like you say, just in your car, using the time. One point I'd like to make before I answer your question, if I may, is that a lot of people, it's not just about investing the money. It is also about investing the time, isn't it? And you found your time. You found your time in your car.
Yes, that's a
Perfect, isn't
big
it?
one.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was too busy to look after me. That's how I was.
Okay.
I've got to be honest with you, at the time when I was at my worst, my most needing, I was earning a lot of money. So money wasn't actually the issue for me.
I love
Spending
this.
it on myself was an issue, because I would spend it on lots of other people. I would spend money, funnily enough, to try and buy myself time. I don't know quite how that worked. The honest truth is I spent quite a lot on alcohol. I thought that would give me energy and give me more. Not something I'm proud of, but that's the reality of what I was doing. So
Yeah.
time is something as well as money, like you say. But what I did to start with is went down the route of counselling and looked at that. But I also then started to get involved in what I call the energy work, which I love so much now. So actually, what I was drawn to was taking the time to meditate, but I didn't know how, as so many people don't know how. So I went to someone to learn how to be peaceful, how to be quiet. Again, I was very resistant to that. I didn't want to do it. I was scared of that peace, that quiet. But that's what I was looking for, although at the time I didn't really realize it. So getting involved in things like Tai Chi and Qigong, and not straightforward meditation. I think I was easing myself into it gently, actually. So the moving meditation, I like to call it, but that stillness and that peace I was gradually learning. But that came from actually, like I say, giving myself some time, my me time, which is so precious, and investing the money to be taught, to actually learn. And I'm a bit like you. I listen to lots of inspirational people. I love that, and I still do. But at the time, I was reaching out personally. I wanted people I could connect with, like we've connected, that I can go, oh, every time I talk to so and so, I feel inspired, I feel motivated. I can understand what they're trying to say to me. So it was a lot about the connections the people that I invested my time in and my money in. So it was learning how to be still, how to be quiet, how
Mm.
to just be, which is
Yeah,
it's quite big, isn't it? It's quite a
it
big
is.
one
It's
to
the
do.
title of my first job, my
Yes.
first book. Your job is to be. So
Mm,
this is interesting. We came from two different places on this important conversation. What is it? I should have said, what is it that we're investing in
yeah.
our personal development, our self health, our self help, our growth, and our souls? And for me, yes, I did do that with intention. I got into my car and I loved these CDs. This is why I now have my own book show podcast. I have a
Yeah.
podcast called Your Book, My Time, and I
Brilliant.
interview authors who inspire because of how I was inspired by these other people.
Yeah.
And but I had to get over the hump of financial investment, and you had to get over the hump of finding time. And
Yeah.
so these are at least two ways that we can invest in our education for our own self.
Yes.
And I feel like, I'm putting my hand on my heart. And if you could
Feel it.
see it, I
Feel
would
it.
put my hand where I feel the soul lives. This is
Mm,
according to Susan, the soul lives deep, deep, deep down in your inner core, your womb
yes, it does,
area.
doesn't it? Yeah.
And I call it your place of deepest feeling.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about Tai Chi and Qigong, I have a dream to do Qigong, and I haven't made that happen yet because
Yet.
I've had some personal difficult
Mm,
transition myself. And so I haven't invested the money or the time, right,
mm,
in that piece of education, but I will be.
yeah.
And so I love that you really found that space. Now, another thing that we talked about is very interesting. I was sitting alone in my car commuting, right? In the beginning, I was smoking cigarettes.
There you
It
go.
was in that same job that ended up being such a terrible job, a horrible space for me professionally, that I had been smoking. And once I made a decision mentally through my own self love to leave that job, that's when I stopped smoking. I still worked at
Wow.
that job for quite a
Yeah.
while longer, another year or so. But once I used my mind, I used what I learned in my education, the
Mm,
power of my thoughts, and I took control of my thoughts and I made that decision. I stopped smoking. So from the time I started commuting, I would smoke, but then I stopped.
brilliant.
I
That's
was
brilliant.
I was alone listening to these educational, informational, inspirational CDs, which again, I think is part of the reason that I go live every day. And we're doing this live with no
Yes.
remuneration. No one
Yes.
is paying us to do this. We
Exactly.
just were inspired. But you, for your educational orientation, you were actually looking for connection and you did it
Yes.
in community. So
Yes.
that's
I was.
interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? And it's interesting as you say that because that's how I started off. But then I was learning to be comfortable with myself. It was
Oh,
so that's really, and I hadn't really thought of that till you said it that way. I started off seeking the help and asking for the help and wanting to be connected. But that was to teach me how to be okay on my own. And actually, now looking back and realizing the patterns that I had, even from childhood, I wasn't very good at being on my own. So that's
mm,
where I needed the help of other people. And this is where we say asking for help and reaching out and actually getting that is so, so valuable because it brought me into being able to be on my own and do these things on my own, which I
mm.
couldn't do. I needed
Mm.
that education. I needed to be taught.
There was, for me, also a fear in my old type A days, of fear of being quiet, of getting quiet
Mm, mm,
because of what I might find when I got
yes,
there.
yes,
And my investment, I suppose, to tell you the truth, now that we're talking about it, I could have chosen to listen to romance novels on
yeah,
CDs. right?
Yeah.
I could have chosen to listen to anything else other than this self work that I chose. But even though I was not able to get quiet myself internally, I created what I call a meditative space. You
Yes,
called
you
it
did.
movement meditation. I called
Yeah.
it walking meditation.
Yeah.
Um, it was in listening and learning what I learned from my investment about thought transformation and mindset transformation,
Yeah.
and that thoughts are things and you can control your thoughts.
Mm.
And once you realize this, I call my coaching 100% in your control.
Mm.
Because that's when you really bring it in. And honestly, Nadine, listening to your story, and to be honest, we've only recently gotten to know each other. So I've already learned more about you. I'm
Yes.
so
It's
delighted,
lovely, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah,
it is
in this
lovely.
call. But listening to us share uh, transparently and honestly with revelation,
Yeah.
right? We're both coaches, we're both high level leading practitioners in our
Yeah.
fields. And yet here we are, freely, honestly, sharing and revealing what our own journeys have been that brought us to
Yes.
this space.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to ask you, Nadine. Um, how in your work, which is powerful, which I myself have experienced, I experienced your work as a calmer self coach, and then I I paid for you for one of my friends
You
because
did.
of that
You
experience.
gifted, didn't you? Which is so lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made a gift of your work for
Mm.
one of my friends because it's so deep and so powerful. But I want to ask you, how has your education in yourself? Okay, here's the question. This is a good one. How has your education in yourself, in the way you've described, helped you stand here confidently and calmly in your skin as a leading practitioner today?
Mm. Good question. Exactly. It's about the knowledge, isn't it? And about going through it yourself. I think people like the phrase lived experience. You know, we can talk about it the way we're talking about it because it's real. And I have learnt, my education has been that it is okay to share that. Years ago, decades ago, I would never have shared any of the troubles that I was having or had. Now, I wouldn't say I'm happy doing. No, I would say I'm happy. I'm happy to share because actually I know that that will help other people. Like you said at the start of this, we are here to help other people by sharing our stories, and that's exactly what it is, isn't it? And I say, as we've already said, we haven't known each other for that long, but I find every time I speak to you, you just ooze confidence, and you pass it over to me straight away. You know, you say just the right thing to me sometimes, or you actually pick up on something and I go, oh yeah, boosted confidence. So you do it naturally. It comes out of every pore of you, doesn't it? And I'm very grateful for that. It is wonderful. But I really do feel that it is that we can stand here, we can be this confident, we can shine our light, if you like, we can put it out to other people. And you must be exactly the same, when people come to you that are struggling, that are not coping very well, when they have actually been brave enough to ask for help, we have that 100% confidence that we know we can help because we have been there. We know where they're at. We can relate to it. We can remember. So we can help them. And I feel, and you must get exactly the same, that when people talk to you, they know that. They feel that.
Mm.
They know they're talking to someone who knows what they're saying and feels it too. So that's really important.
Yeah, and this is what I call intuitive business.
Yes. Yeah.
So, this is the space that we are absolutely both in. That what you just described is being in your intuition place,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
being in an intuitive business space.
Mm-hmm.
And because of allowing intuition to rise, I have created the intuitive business system based on exactly as we're saying, what I've learned myself, evolving from the educational investments that I've made, both using my time and my effort, my money and my energy, and wanting to share to get other people where we are more
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
So there's something coming up for me. And I looked at the time passing because I wanted to make sure that I had time to ask this. The end game for many people now, at least people we're speaking to, is being in some kind of business, whether
Mm,
they're coaches themselves or whether
mm,
they're in jobs or executives or floor, managers or whatever. The end game in this day and age is being in some kind of business,
yes.
creating, having income and a livelihood.
Yeah.
And so I just think that we want to address that for a minute, how our work, your work, helping people find this, their
Mm,
space of calm
mm,
and ease and peace, and my work helping people find this
yeah.
the confidence that is needed to be in life and business today. How What's the connection between the investment in our programs and our offerings that people can make and how it can help them in business today?
Yeah, the way that I see it is that, because it's the way I did it myself, and you probably did as well, is you invest, you learn, you educate, like you say, to give you that confidence so that you are able to speak out and you're able to share. Because otherwise, people wouldn't even know we're here, would they? So we need that confidence, we need that. And that does come from the time and investment that we have put into our own education for our businesses as well as personally. And I really feel that that is what we can give to other people, partly by showing people the way, because we're doing it ourselves. We've done it, we're doing it continually, but also by actually saying to people, whatever you want, you can have. You just need, like you said earlier, a few tools to get there. You need the confidence, you need a bit of calmness as well. You need to be able to manage your own emotions when it's appropriate. You need to lose that fear and step into whoever you want to be. And that is the investment. The people that work with you get that, people that work with me get that. So we're coming from a little bit of a different place, but so similar, aren't we? And giving that to people is a joy, isn't it? To see the change and see people grow and do what they want to do is just constantly. It's why I do what I do. So it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And what just coming completely full circle from opening by sharing our stories and revealing our truth, not coming across in, a way as if we got it all going on all the time, and we always have.
Yeah.
Um, but coming full circle, as you were talking, I really realized here we are as testament to
Exactly.
exactly what we're
Yeah.
saying today. Isn't that
Yeah.
great?
Living proof, aren't we? We are walking our talk, as they say. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
absolutely are. We
We
have
are.
just another minute or two. This conversation has been just downright delicious,
Oh,
honestly.
brilliant. Isn't it lovely?
We're
Yeah.
going to do it again. We're going to keep this
Mm,
conversation going. It's
yes.
vitally important. But in the meantime, how can we reach you? And, how can people get in touch
Yeah.
for calmer self work?
Yes, definitely. Well, go to the KS Media Group app, like you said at the start. Download it, create your free account, and then you will find me in there under leading practitioners. You'll find Susan too, and lots of other wonderful people. Everything that we do is there, isn't it? Access to everything. Podcasts, meditations I've got on there as well as some articles. There's so much on there from you, from me, from so many other people. But KS Media Group app is where you go and you'll find everything.
Good. That's wonderful. It's so easy to say. It's a
Mm,
one-stop shop. You can find both of us there and so much more.
mm.
So Nadine, thank you so much for staying up late your time,
Yes, late
for
for tea.
joining me and for spending the time. And I really honestly am going to listen to this conversation again myself offline, I
So am
think,
I.
with a
Yes.
pad and pen.
So am I. Yes,
Yeah, I think we uncovered some really great stuff,
we
and
did.
I will look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah.
Take good care, my friend.
Thank you so much for asking me. I've loved every minute. Thank you.
Be well.